Alright, let's talk about Spider-Man. Brand new day. Beautiful day. I liked it, man. I thought it was a good movie. I think much different, not much different, but definitely a different tone, a different direction, different vibe, okay, than the Jon Watts Homecoming trilogy that happened prior to this with Tom Holland. I like the direction that they took this in. I think bringing it back to the ground level, I've heard a lot of people say that they like that they brought this Spider-Man, this version of Tom Holland, back to the ground fighting Spider-Man portrayed in New York City. I do like, because I was a little bit confused as to they brought so many villains to the table last time in the last movie in No Way Home, that I was a little concerned of like, how is the villain going to top what happened last time, because they kind of fought every single villain except for one really big Spider-Man villain that I am thinking about. But it was good. As it turns out, this ended up, spoiler alert, this ended up being half of an X-Men movie. So Sadie Sink, she portrayed Jean Grey. People know at this point, okay? She was good, I thought. Definitely Sadie Sink is a good actress. I think that they went in on this character. I was a little bit surprised that she was as dark and as cynical as was portrayed here. Definitely a different version of Jean Grey. Kind of, I heard someone else say it, so I can't take credit for this, but kind of like the Jean Grey, how she would have acted or behaved before she actually ended up meeting Professor X. So that, I thought that was a pretty good description of who this Jean Grey was, because like I said, there were some cynical moments in here where she was kind of a mastermind of trickery, and she was killing people. So that's a pretty intense thing for a PG-13 Spider-Man movie. But that's what I've always kind of respected about Marvel, is that they have not been, is this out of focus? They have not been like afraid to really go there, and for some of the Marvel new heads, if you go back as far as the first Captain America movie, the first Avenger, that there is a particular helicopter scene that also, like, whoa, kind of threw me off guard a little bit. But I am glad that the MCU is willing to go there. I think it does set the stakes. Something similar happens in this movie, in Brand New Day, where somebody gets hit by a bus. That's pretty crazy. So yeah, it's not afraid to go there. It's willing to show you what happened. And I mean, you have the Punisher in this film, so come on. I mean, it's going to be violent in some sort of way. But for a Spider-Man movie, it was pretty solid. I was not quite expecting the Punisher. You know, people have been talking about it. Spider-Man and the Punisher had kind of a buddy cop duo, and I thought it was good. I think so John Bernthal he's like a good actor, but he portrays the same type of like brute character every time. This one, he was a little bit goofy, so it was interesting to see more of his like goofy acting chops, I guess. But he does a lot of this. He's like bullshit, like, you know, just, I don't know, not the best, but that, you know, that's who he is. So aside from that stuff, though, I thought he did fit in pretty well, and there was actually like a couple of funny scenes with him, and some serious ones as well. So he blended in much better in this movie than I thought he would, and he had a much longer part in this movie than I thought he would. As for like Bruce Banner, he had a shorter part in this movie than I thought he would. I'm actually not 100% sure he even needed to be in this movie, aside from just the fact that like it's cool, and the MCU, I know they got their rights distribution with the Hulk kind of up in the air right now, so it's good that they, I guess, are throwing in the Hulk wherever and whenever they can. It's been utilized more recently. Obviously, we saw the Red Hulk in Captain America recently, and it was good that we got a return to form with this Hulk. The fight scene was cool. I never thought that we would be really witnessing the Punisher fighting Hulk. That was kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, regarding Tom Holland's portrayal of Spider-Man, really good. I thought some of the best it's ever been, this movie, really. And that's in part to the director. I mean, this guy, Destin Cretton, I believe it is I've seen a few of his movies now, his works in the MCU, and he is really good at, again, like trickery. Like, he was good when it came to portraying Sadie Sink this way and her Jean Grey character. It really, there was a very intense scene with MJ and Peter that almost felt believable, but like as a viewer you could tell that something was up and this was not the real MJ, and she was, you know, saying catch to Peter as she was falling off the building. That was pretty crazy. You know, kind of the trickery there was good. And this is like the second time I've seen Destin pull off a scene similar to this. There's another scene like this in Wonder Man that is even more crazy, I will say. But so he's good with that level of storytelling. And then, you know, Spider-Man himself was a very grounded Spider-Man, as I've said, and back to the basics, really, in terms of dealing with himself and his emotions, while also dealing with him evolving and dealing with how his I guess anxiety is really peaking up through this movie, and how it's kind of changing him and affecting him on top of these new effects that he's going through. Was it explained the greatest? Probably not. Did it need to be? Probably not. I think that the more pertinent storyline here was obviously him getting back together with MJ, or trying to. Alright, finishing up this review here, because my camera died earlier. So what I was saying about Peter, he does go through a lot of emotional difficulty in this movie, and a lot of hardship, and I think that he easily overcomes, not easily, but the male loneliness epidemic. He does overcome loneliness, and I think that he's able to relate to the Punisher in that way as well. Which at first I didn't know if he was going to be a right fit for this movie, but he was, as he is one of the only people that Peter Parker can actually relate to. So the thing with MJ and Ned being in this movie is they weren't in it too much, which I thought was good, because we did get a lot of them in the first 3 Spider-Man movies there. But in this one, they're in it like the right amount now, of like almost like from a viewpoint of being stalked by Peter, which I think is very interesting. And then there is kind of that big crazy moment where MJ accidentally finds Peter's letter to her, because he's too afraid to read it to her himself. And I think that's one of the strongest parts of the movie, honestly. Even though she's not in it a ton, there is this whole like emotional moment of like, I don't know who you actually are. I can't love you. I don't love you. And so that it kind of gets into that a little bit, and then you know, Peter meets Ned again for the second time. And by the end of the movie, I think the ending is one of the strongest parts of the movie, honestly, because it shows that Ned does still remember who Peter is slightly with that crazy handshake at the end there. So I thought that was a good way to end it. Just nice and simple, plain cut, feeling good, like there is hope for Peter yet. And I'm interested in seeing where Jean Grey's story is going to go as well, because something tells me we're going to be seeing a lot more of her in the X-Men coming up. But yeah, overall there was a lot of good action. Back to some crazy web slinging shots in this movie. Go see the movie. It's pretty good. There's a lot going on in this movie. There are parts of it that can feel disjointed, but Destin somehow does weave it together in a way that sort of makes sense. I do think it's probably getting rated a little bit beyond what it probably needs to be, but I do understand it though, because it's a very exciting, thrilling movie that hits the right emotional beats. I'll say that. So this is the ultimate Spider-Man movie, and next up for Marvel, for movies, is Doomsday. Oh man, the new Avengers. That's awesome. Until next time, peace.